Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. You found good in abundance because you've chosen consciously and conscientiously to tune into Ion Las Vegas, where we introduce you to some of the most remarkable, upbeat, interesting people throughout the planet. And especially here in this amazing city called Las Vegas, there's a city of opportunity. There's a city of things happening in so many different areas, especially when it comes to money and business and fun. Okay, so my name is Barry Shore. I am known as the Ambassador of Joy. Now, you'll notice I didn't say the Ambassador of Joy. It's the Ambassador of Joy. And you have chosen to come and listen to us about this remarkable place. Now, I'm going to tell you something interesting. I travel the world. I speak to people all over the world, been around almost every country in the world. Whenever I mention these two words, Las Vegas, people's eyes open up wide. Why? Because this is a city where things never sleep and always things happening. So let me tell you how many people come here. If you take the entire population of New York City and everything around it, the entire population of Chicago and everything around it, the entire population of Los Angeles and everything around it, add it all together, doesn't come up to the number of people that come to, through, and for Las Vegas in a year. Over 41 million people come through here in any given year. And it's because it's a place where things can have magic happens here. And speaking of magic, we have a wizard to introduce you today. So I'm going to bring him on right now. He is the Wizard of Money. His name is wonderful Gav Blaxberg. Wonderful Gav. Please say hello to 503,927 people around the world.
Hello. Hello. The Ambassador of Joy. It's a pleasure to be on.
And the Wizard of Money. So look, whenever we talk about joy, people light up. When you talk about money, people lean in. So we're just going to lean into you. Now, those of you who are listening, you're missing something special. What is it? Not me. Okay, it's nice to look at Barry Shore also. Fine, he's some wonderful, handsome fellow, great tan. But you got to see Gav. Gav radiates everything about life today. Young, dynamic, positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. So if you're not watching, you're missing something, just letting you know. So Gav, let's just jump right in. You are the CEO, founder of Wolf Financial, and you've done something quite amazing in your short career because you've been involved with media building, you've been involved with the stock market, real estate, you worked at Goldman Sachs. I mean, it goes on and on. Let's talk about what interests people the most, which is, hey, what's happening in the world right now with money? So the floor is yours, wonderful Gav.
It's a really interesting time for my generation, specifically when it comes to money, because there's this wealth transfer that's happening. So I think that that's kind of the bigger scheme going on here. But in the day-to-day, you kind of have the craziness right now of this mixture of a market that is on steroids going all over the place, from the president and other people's actions. And then you have, of course, the entire side of crypto that's been introduced largely by my generation that has gone all over the place. And so you have people that are, it used to be 10%, 15% a year was good return on your money. Now people want 1,000% in a day. And so it's all over the place, to be honest. I think the concept of money is ever changing. You've got inflation going on. You've got tariffs back and forth. Everything is just kind of money, right? It's the rules, it's the laws, it's the being of nature right now.
So this is very important what you just said. A number of things I want to unpack for the audience. There is a man in this world. His name is Warren Buffett. Now, Warren Buffett is famous not because he's rich. He's famous because he got rich, as he says, slowly. So one of the things that you just mentioned in your introduction is that it seems to be that a lot of rules and ideas are shifting right now. Now, fundamentals will always stay when it comes to the stock market. However, you mentioned two things about the human condition. One is that people want a good return, and 10% or 15% think that's big. Now people want it, as you said, in a little exaggeration, but not too much. They want triple-digit returns, and they want it now. Is that true? Is it really true? People are seeing so much happening, whether it's NVIDIA or crypto or this and that, and think, I want a piece of that. I want it right this moment.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Buffett because he's kind of the epitome of what people should be looking towards right now, which is that patience is a superpower, right? And I think right now you have a lot of people that have forgotten that the market is just a tool that transfers money from the impatient to the patient over long periods of time. And these are all just Warren Buffett quotes, but I think what he was able to instill in people, which is, like you said, right, consistent returns over time, having patience, trying to find great companies at, great valuations right there as well. That's kind of gone out the window for a lot of people. And I think that there's a number of reasons as to why, people struggle and deal with situations where they feel like they have to come up the money right now. And, they've all gone through pandemic or other areas that have affected them. So I can understand it. But yeah, I definitely try to instill in people this idea of having a little bit of patience, even 5 years, 10 years, right, of a time horizon rather than 5 days, 10 days, typically seems to pay off.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to just tell people something. Gav is chronologically 26 years of age. He has wisdom of a 76, which is me, because he's able to speak about money in a dispassionate way. He's able to speak about patience, recognize true value, which is a human condition that, as you said, Warren Buffett said so wonderfully, that it's the transfer of money from the impatient to the patient. And you also mentioned that we're in the midst of the greatest wealth transfer in the history of the planet. It is said that the number is plus minus $90 trillion, which will be transferred from my generation, 70 years plus, to your generation, the 20-year-olds. So that is not just a large number. It's an enormous amount of wealth that, if it's used correctly, can do enormous good in the world, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that hopefully people are trying to instill some of these mindsets before they pass that money down. And then the people that are getting it, right? I think that it's hard because sometimes your timeline for investing and for making your money turn into more doesn't necessarily align with your timeline for living, right? You're like, well, I need a place to live now. I need a house. I need a car to be able to travel here. I need to do these things now, but I need 5 more years to be able to make smart monetary decisions. So you kind of get crushed a little bit in between. But then you also have, again, this money that's going to get passed down, which maybe ends up alleviating some of that. So it's pretty interesting to watch.
So this is wonderful. You mentioned an important word, which is a conceptual situation. It's called mindset. Now, you work with money all the time. You work with people who have money all the time. And you set up this wonderful company called Wolf Financial. Wolf, by the way, is a great acronym, WOLF. And by the way, I'll tell you another inside baseball stuff on Wolf. But Wolf stands for Wizard, that's you, because you're the wizard of money. Opines means you have opinions. Loving finance. That's what you're doing. You're talking about loving finance. And if you look at Wolf backwards, it spells what word?
Wow, flow, right?
Right, which the essence of business is cash flow, is flow of money. So you got them coming and going. That's what you're doing. The mindset of the people who are going to be working with money, earning, growing, investing, what do you need to have for that mindset to make it work right?
Well, we've touched on some of it, which is patience. I think that the bigger thing, potentially even more so than patience and what leads to patience, is conviction. And that's potentially the harder part to build. And actually at the Money Show where we met in Vegas, I spoke about how to scientifically build conviction, because you can quite literally alter the chemistry makeup of your brain to become convicted in things, right? You see it with religion, people who have never been religious a day in their life that become, religious zealots, kind of feels like overnight, right? But something happened, right? Something changed in their brain. And my theory with building conviction as an investor was repetition, conviction through repetition. And that's kind of how I live my life, which is figuring out something that you can do every single day and breaking it down. And that's kind of the patience thing, right? It's instead of saying, hey, I'm going to do everything today. Well, I've got a 10-year plan and I'm going to do something every day for 10 years to get there. So for me, I want to learn Spanish. So it's every day, you're hitting Duolingo for a certain amount of time. Or I wanted to not drink alcohol. Well, every day I'm making a conscious decision to not drink, right? And it adds up over time for other benefits for your body and things like that. So I think that would be like the two places that I would start with if you are managing money, business, and stuff like that, is start with building your conviction by creating repetition every single day on a certain series of habits. And the more that you stick with them, the easier they get over time, just like working out and pieces like that. And then from your conviction, build the patience. And then if you have those two things together, then you can build around them, right? With research, experience is going to be probably the biggest thing ultimately, but there's only one way to get that. It's by doing it. And a couple of other items that I assume would cement everything that you're doing there.
So let's do something right now for the people. Everything, by the way, you want to know about Gav and Wolf Financial, it's going to be in the show notes. So don't write anything down. It's just more fun to lean in and listen and let him flow through you and around you. He's the wolf, after all, and his flows, and that's what's good, right? And he's opining. He's telling us what's going on. Now, I urge everybody, you want to share this with at least 5 people. You want to do it with 50 or 100, that's great, but at least 5 people so we can touch 2.5 million people around the world. And of course, like us on Spotify and follow us or Apple Podcasts. So let's take a look at something else, wonderful Gav. You mentioned, of course, patience, and you talk about conviction. And I think you're talking about the G word, which is the beginning of your name, and that's goals. What do you personally do with goals? Let's say you mentioned, well, I want to learn Spanish. Do you write down your goals? Do you urge people to write them down or just have them?
Goals are a really tricky thing for me. And I was actually, I'll get to it in a second, but for me always, especially for most of my life, I've always felt that if I planned farther than 6 months out, I was almost hurting myself because so much opportunity would come along. And if I was like, well, I've got this 5-year plan of these 5-year goals, and I would say no to opportunity because I felt like it would drift me off of the track that I was on to get to those goals. And so for me, I'm very, very methodically planned for at least 6 months out. And whatever I want to accomplish goal-wise is built into the day by day. So my calendar is already structured for most of the next 6 months. I know where I'm going to be every single day. I know what I'm doing for the most part, right? Things will come up. But beyond that, I keep it fairly open because I want to be able to shift. However, I did have a good conversation actually towards the end of last year with Vlad Tenev. He's the founder and CEO of Robinhood. And I asked him the same question because I was like, you guys are always building in the short term. And he talked to me about marrying your short-term and your long-term goals, having the short-term concept, which is typically kind of built in stone in that short term. Hey, here's everything I'm going to do for the next 6 months. And then having more than goals, more like driving vision and passions for that 5 to 10 years, and then bringing the two together. So the 6 months is, hey, or maybe it's a longer time period for him, 12 months. I know every single thing I'm going to be doing in concrete, built down. And then long term, I don't necessarily have these written down goals, but I have more of the things that drive me, right? And I think for a lot of people, that's wanting to build a great company culture, wanting to be able to take care of your family, wanting to be able to do good for others, right? And those types of pieces are the longer term. But for me, I definitely am less of a write down my vision board and stick to a 5-year type thing. And I kind of am more like, let's have actionable steps every day for the next 6 months. And then let's kind of have a dream for 10 years.
What a great way of responding. Action is the key to the winner. And 6 months is a time frame that you can work with. And again, having vision is absolutely critical. So we have vision. We have people that love our show. We have sponsors. We have one particular one, and we wouldn't have them on if we didn't think they're worthy of your time. So we're going to take a very short break. We'll be back with more Gav right after this. Don't go away because this guy is just on fire.
What if you could shop at your favorite local stores, swipe your current credit card, and get extra cashback rewards? And what if you could also have donations sent to your favorite cause at no extra cost to you? What if this amazing program was absolutely free and very simple to set up? Well, What If is here. Welcome to Einstein Cares, where your everyday shopping gives you and your favorite cause extra money. It's fast, it's easy, and effortless.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Gav Blaxberg, and he is a dynamo. He's a wolf, which means that he is a wizard opining lovingly on finance, money. He enjoys helping people understand more about money and make money, and not just make it, but use it and leverage it. Let's talk about what you do in the social media world, because you are a rock star. So tell us about what it is that you do, how you do it, and why do you think that social media is so important in today's world? Let's take one piece at a time. What have you done with social media, you personally?
Well, real quick on social media, I think it's less about social media and more just about audience. And I think that there's a real huge benefit for your life that comes by having an audience, especially in today's day and age. It might be the most valuable thing that you can do for yourself is to build an audience. What I've done with social media is spent most of the last half a decade building that audience online, typically by offering free content that I think is going to be helpful, educational, inspiring, and drawing people into it. So I've never really charged for any of my content. I have put out at this point well over 100,000 posts on Twitter. I have hosted about 8,000 hours of live content across our ecosystem. Right now, we have regularly 40 to 80 hours of live content a week, whether it's people wanting to learn about finance, trade the markets, crypto, sports. We really cover across the bat, plenty of news, items like that. And the bigger piece of what I've done is more so than build my own audience. I've connected with a lot of other people out there that really want to build theirs as well and have great audiences. And I guess people call them influencers or content creators. And I have banded together with them to help them build their businesses out and find sponsorships and create better content and produce content at a higher quality. And so now we have our own internal areas with about 400,000 followers on Twitter, 100,000 on LinkedIn, a couple other platforms. And we also manage a creator network with about 10 million followers across social medias as well. And so it's a combination of our efforts and expertise and then helping others that have similar missions to grow as well.
So I'm especially fascinated. By the way, I watch Gav's videos. It's great. I'm telling you, I really enjoy. He knows how to deliver. He knows how to create interest, have people lean in. And it's not just fluff. Here's the best part. He's delivering real stuff, whether it's in finance or sports or something else. It's really something good and fun and upbeat. So a big bravo to you. And I want to think this concept in social media today, you say it's been a half a decade. So half a decade equals 5 years. You're 26 years now, so you started when you were 21, which of course, because you're a digital native. Hello. People in your age group, you're digital natives, as opposed to somebody, okay, certainly like myself, we think we know how to use digital devices and such. However, it's part and parcel of your world, just as anybody now being born, for them, these are just the natural extensions of the human condition. The beauty of what you're doing is that you're generous with your expertise, with your time, with your openness, and you recognize that generosity creates value. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, definitely that's a big piece of it. But I think the essence of what you're saying is what I've always approached, which is you need to just offer people value excessively and good things will come.
Well, I just created an acronym for your name. You want to hear it?
Please.
Generosity awakens value.
I would agree.
And that's who you are. You're Gav. Generosity, the giving, awakens value. And when people understand value, they flock. I mean, I'm humbled and honored to tell you, I've been doing this now for almost 6 years. Okay, 5.5 years. And we have over 500,000 people listening and such. And why do they keep coming back? Because I'm able to meet amazing people like you, share in an upbeat, wonderful, giving way, and creating value for people. So these are what, for want of a better term, I will call fundamental, old-fashioned ideas that will never go away. In other words, we're in the world of AI today. You can't go anywhere and have somebody not mention the course of 3 to 4 minutes AI, even if they don't know what it is. People are using it. But HI, human intelligence, is the fundamental that's going to make everything work, and especially when we're talking about wealth transfer. So I'd like you to speak about a little bit more, since we already talked about patience and such. What's the human factor in here that can make sure that people will do well in their longer term, 5 or 10 years, as opposed to I want to buy something for $1,000 right now and be worth $2,000 in 30 days. How do you get rid of that mindset and replace it with a growth mindset?
The best way to change mindset is typically experience, which is also the toughest way because there's no way to speed up experience in most cases, right? You have to live through it. But what I have found, if you really are looking to kind of get that head step, is borrowing from other people's experience. And I compare it to a social media tactic that I use. So on Twitter, what makes a post go viral? What makes people pay attention to a post? It's really more so who it's coming from than the content itself, right? People give voice to authority, and that's why if Elon Musk or Donald Trump or whoever posts, it really doesn't matter what they post. It's going to get attention because they're an authoritative voice. People pay attention to them. People take insights and advice and all those things from them. And so when you're creating content on social media, you want to have an authoritative voice. And it's why my best posts, I talk about, hey, I worked at Goldman Sachs and did this, or I've built, a 7-figure firm and done this. When I lead with that, it creates authority, but not everyone has that, right? It's the same thing with experience. Not everyone has experience. So it's like, okay, I get what works, but I don't have it. So how am I going to make it work? And what I tell people is you can actually borrow authority from people by observing what they did. So another great post that I saw from a friend was, he said, Jeff Bezos, obviously very authoritative voice, very rich, accomplished a lot. He's written a wealth of letters to shareholders. I think there's hundreds of shareholder letters at this point if you go through and look over the course of Amazon's history. My friend went through and read all the letters. This is before AI could just do it for you, and made a post about, hey, I read through all 500 or whatever it is of Jeff Bezos's letters, and here's my thoughts and takeaways. So what he did for people was two things. One, he actually borrowed authority from Jeff Bezos by saying, I read through all these things. And then two, he added value on top by summarizing it and then adding his own opinions and thoughts. And so he brought authority, value, and all of that all together. And so same thing I would say for mindset in regards to, hey, I want to have the longer term mindset. Or, well, let's find somebody, right? A Warren Buffett. Let's go watch his videos where he's talking in Omaha, right, about mindset. Let's go and find other YouTube videos. Let's listen to people on social media. Let me find a wealth advisor, right, and pick their brain and start to borrow a little bit from their authority. So when you're investing and you're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to have this great, mindset to invest in everything. Well, go listen to 10 hours Warren Buffett speak and then borrow that confidence and say, wow, that resonates with me as an authoritative voice. I'm now going to shift that into my investing style. And so I think that the ultimate combo comes from I think it's very tough to just rely on your own thoughts and processes and experiences. And so the best thing is when you can take your own conviction, marry it with someone else's that you really admire and look up to and who has experience and track record. And that's how you actually create sustainable. And there was a guy when I presented who was asking me, he said, my issue is I get enough confidence in stocks to take a starter position, but then these stocks, like I never add to the starter position, or I never even start in the beginning. He goes, I never find myself taking large positions, and the stocks, next thing I know, they're up 80%, and now I feel like it's too late. And I was like, well, the issue is, do you do your own research? And he goes, yes, exclusively. Like I just shut out everything else. I do my own research. And I go, well, the problem is if you're doing your own research and you're getting confidence, but not enough to add to position sizes that matter, it's because you're shutting everyone else out, right? You need to take your confidence, which is clearly getting you enough to get a position size, and marry it with a Peter Thiel or Warren Buffett or someone else like that. Take their confidence, put the two together. Now you have enough ability to start the position, but also to grow it over time and to not be scared to add to it. And so that's where I think people really have to put the two pieces together.
Jaw-dropping good. Because you mentioned two powerful words, And then you added a third: authority, value, and borrow. You said borrow more than people think the word borrow. They think take, take, take. You're not. What you're doing is you're borrowing because Jeff Bezos didn't write these shareholder letters exclusively for the shareholders of Amazon.
Yeah.
He knew he was writing for a bigger audience. And then the ability now to utilize leverage, by the way, that's what earning money, real money, is all about leverage, isn't it, Gav? And real leverage is what you just said: authority, value. It's an equation. Using authority, value, having AI read through on the wall, leveraging that. It's as good as if you bought NVIDIA, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, your pocketbook. No, I'd rather have the money. Actually, you wouldn't. What you're really gaining is something you just said, which is invaluable experience. This is so fabulous. I'm really enjoying this tremendously because your urge is showing. And by the way, how many people, why do you call it Twitter still, even though obviously you've been on Twitter for the past 5 years? So you're calling it Twitter just because, right? In other words, that's how you know it.
Seems to still be the more recognizable name at the moment. Maybe things will change in the future, right? We'll see. Right now, I could call it Twitter. I could call it X. Kind of depends on who I'm speaking to. If I'm speaking to someone that I regularly engage with and I know that knows it as X, I'll say that. And if not, if it's in general, I'll say Twitter. Right. Maybe give it a couple years and it'll be officially Twitter. What's funny is the night that they switched it over to be called X was actually the night that Elon Musk followed me. And it was because I was tweeting at him. It was still called tweeting at the time. I was like, what are the tweets going to be called? And he commented and he said, they're going to be called X's. And then they completely scrapped that idea and just called them posts. But I thought it was funny. We were talking a little bit that night. He was on actually a space that my friend was hosting. So it was a pretty interesting time.
I love the fact that you just said, well, I was tweeting with or Xing with Elon. Hello. That's the genius of being involved, isn't it? In other words, once you're involved and you're building something, you're borrowing, you're using authority and value, and you're creating more value. By definition, something good will happen because you're out there making stuff happen. Well, I'm sorry to say the words I'm about to say, Gav. Our time together is coming to a close. I have 3 quick questions for you. You ready?
Yes.
Number 1, will you come back again?
Be a pleasure.
Oh, thank you. Number 2, Gav Blaxberg. You have only 80 seconds to answer this question. What is your most fervent desire?
Most fervent desire is to just take care of my family, I think, at heart. Would love to. I got a big family, and I'd love to be able to provide more for them and help out more across the board and make sure nobody has to worry.
That's wonderful. That's a good vision, isn't it?
It is.
That can incorporate the 6 months and the 10-year. And number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 511,912 people around the world?
Let's do it.
Let me tell you what HUG stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Are you ready? 1,
yes, sir.
2, 3. Remember, you're listening to Eye on Las Vegas, the most upbeat, interesting, opportunity-laden place on the internet. And I'm going to give you a blessing from Gav and Barry. Go forth. Live exuberantly. Spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Don't go away, Gav. Don't go away.